Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's exciting times right now, and I am joined now by a singer-songwriter, entertainer. It is Sunjay. How you doing, my friend?
I'm great, thank you, Dino. How are you?
I'm absolutely fantastic, and it's great to finally sit you down and actually talk about your music. I remember you well from the Buddy Holly shows many years ago when you was touring around the theatres with doing your Buddy Holly thing, and I was very blown away with your performance in that. And then I've followed you since, and it's great just to see which field you're going in. And, you know, you're dipping your toe into so much genre, and then you've got this album coming out in October, which is absolutely fresh, raw. It holds up well, and it's a follow up. It's Black and Blues Revisited, out in October, and it's going great. So, what's the reasons for this then? You know, what was the reason to sit down and do a follow up?
So, I did Black and Blues in 2015, and as you quite rightly said there, this is the follow up to it. The original Black and Blues was just me with an acoustic guitar. It was captured live in the sense that I just sang and played at the same time we recorded it. There was no audience there or anything like that. But so I wanted to do a continuation, and just to show how I've evolved musically, I suppose. I never toured with a band in the early days. I kind of didn't want to reveal how musically incompetent I felt I was to other people, and that was the reason. But now, having worked in the show with the Buddy Holly tour, I felt far more comfortable working with other musicians. And so it's a small band on the album. There's only 5 of us in total. But I think we pulled off a really, I'd say a really cool sound, actually. I like it.
Yeah, I've got to admit, I've got to agree with you with that. It's such a fresh album, and everybody says, "Oh, blues, it's the standard stuff, you know, it's the same old," but it's not, because right now in this moment in time, I think blues has took a different approach and different direction in many ways. And you know, as long as the music's touching, to me, that's the blues anyway. It touches every emotion possible. If you say the blues, that's what it is. And the thing what I love about this album and your sound is how different you have gone. You've got your bluegrass in there, Americana, you've got your rockabilly kind of feel to it, and then you've got the country kind of feel and the blues. Was there any reason for you to dip your toes in all those areas?
It wasn't conscious. I'm intrigued with the bluegrass reference. That's I'm wondering where particularly you heard that, actually, to say the truth. You have to fill me in on that one. No specific reason. It's just a blend of everything that I do. I started off predominantly in the folk world. I've always enjoyed playing blues. That was how I started. My dad taught me to play Buddy Holly songs and Elvis songs, and he used to do a few fingerpick songs, and it just seemed more interesting to me. So I asked him to teach me. He couldn't show me how to fingerpick. He struggled to show me. I think he just sort of learned how to do it. He was self-taught. So I then went in search of people to teach me how to fingerpick the guitar, and struggled as a 5-year-old with that. But I found it via Stefan Grossman and his How to Play Blues Guitar VHS tapes, as it was in those days. So that was how I got into blues, and I say I've always just enjoyed playing it. It feels very natural for me. In the early days, it took a while for me to find my own voice. And again, I think definitely on this album, but going back to the last studio record, actually, Devil Came Calling, I think I really started to find my own voice and be able to say things in my own way. And most of that was just working with a new producer and him saying, well, just sing it how you want to sing it. Don't worry about trying to sound like this or trying to sound like that. Just sing it how you sing it. That's exactly what I did. It sounds obvious, but it's very true. You just have to, I think, a certain degree of it, though, is you have to be around the people that support you enough to allow you to be yourself authentically. And when that's captured in a recording studio, it will transcend, it will come through. I'm a firm believer in that.
Definitely. I agree with you there. So, again, you've gone quite deep with that, and how you've kind of felt like you've wanted to find your own identity, and you went back to the folk albums, and you sat down, they're very stripped down, and it's beautiful, it touches you in that way. But this one, you seem to have a voice that's just so different, and that's what took me by surprise with this album. I was just I was blown away with it. I didn't think it sounded like anything else that you'd done. I'm not going to lie on you that bit. I thought this was so different and so fresh and nice, and I thought it was different because I've not really heard this from way back, this kind of vibe. And it really, like I was saying, it reminded me of so many different genres. And the guys that you've got in playing with you, are these guys that you've had knocking around on the block for a while, or have you just gone completely fresh and thought, right, I know of these guys, let's see if they want to do it?
There's a mix to that. I'd started working with Josh Clark, who played drums on a single I did during the first year of COVID. I went down and did a day with him just because people had told me about him as a producer and said how great he was. So I thought, okay, well, I'll go and do this. I'll go and have a try. And I loved working with him. He settled my anxieties in the studio. I had a lot of them. I never felt before that I actually managed to show people on an album what I could do, particularly when it comes to my voice, actually. I remember coming off stage so many times after great gigs that I've done and just going, why can't I do that on a CD? And if people could hear this gig that I did tonight on an album in a studio context, things would be so much better for me. I think I had a bit of red light syndrome. The red light would go on in the studio and I'd freeze a little bit and struggle to give that authentic performance. I'd try and nail it down as much as possible so that it was, I think that the result of that made it quite flat, actually. Whereas this time we just decided to cut loose, as it were, and go for it.
It's great. It really is, Sunjay. I've got to admit it.
And so I worked with Josh on that single. Lee Soundfall on the harmonica. Lee's played harmonica on a lot of my albums. He's going to be touring with me in November at quite a few of the shows. That's a new thing, and we've done a few gigs together already. And I just love being around him. He's such a happy person. He breaks into songs spontaneously in the middle of town centre. It's wonderful.
Oh, it's great. It really is. So I think it's excitement that you do bring a band out with you. You're not on your own. You've got the full force behind you. And I think you're one of the most underrated artists right now. I really do. And I mean that because, people need to dig deeper into your music. And then when they heard this album, I think you are really hitting the nail on the head and showing everybody this is who I am, like you mentioned. And I think there's better things to come as well, because you've kind of just took it and it's just gone somewhere to me. And I don't want to give too much away to the people because I can say a lot about the album, but I don't want to give too much away. But it's definitely in a stand-up album, what you can see with a band touring the UK, and you're going to leave this show and be like, okay, yeah, I've had a good show there, because it's got everything. I love it all. It's raw. It's just beautiful stuff. It really is. And you've got plans to tour late October-ish, something like that, when the album drops in October, and you're going to take the full band out, obviously, yeah?
No, I think it's just going to be me and Lee.
Okay.
Just because of logistics. I should mention also, so Bob Friesma on the keys.
King, John Shaw Taylor.
Absolutely. Sari Score. I just did a gig actually with Sari.
She is lovely, girl.
She's lovely. And so, Bob, the way it came about with Bob, it's almost kind of a story you wouldn't believe. During COVID, I had the idea to do Black and Blues Revisited, and And it was kind of like, well, who do I really want to play on an album of mine? You know, who would be really cool? And I thought, well, if I could pick any keyboard player, or organ player actually particularly, I wasn't actually sure that he played piano, but anyway, so I thought, well, Bob Friesman. And so I sent him a message on Facebook. I said, hey, Bob, would you like to play on my new album? And he just came back, he said, yeah, I'd love to. And I was like, no way, it's not that easy, surely. And we went from there. So, and then the last person to mention on the album is Josh Dewsbury, who is he's a bass player that filled in for Eve Sellis' regular bass player when she last toured the UK. And I had a great time. I think I did a handful of dates with Eve Sellis and just got on like house on fire with the band. And so, yeah, I asked Josh to come along, and that makes up the band that's on the album.
It's great stuff. It really is. And I cannot wait to see you just out there. Anyway, you always put a show, like I say, from seeing you in the theatres, and I have caught a couple of your solo shows, you know, what I've seen on social medias, and it's very gripping. You get in there, you know, and you're mingling with some great characters, and it's an exciting time for this album. I think this album is ready to be released to the people who are into this kind of music, and I think people will actually give you the credit what's needed. You know, your name to me is going somewhere, but I genuinely believe that this album's just going to propel you somewhere even more than where you've been already. Got a wealth of experience. It's been great talking to you, Sunjay. Thank you so much for sitting me down. All the information's on your social media pages, so you can go and see it all there. Yeah.
Yes, it is, and thank you so much for all the very nice things that you just said. I really appreciate it. I really do.
You've got to give yourself some credit because you've got a great album. You really have, and I'm not going to say too much about it. I'm going to shut my mouth, and the listeners, the readers, can go out and check this right now. Go and check it out. It is, ladies and gentlemen, I'll say, a very versatile artist. It is Sunjay. Thank you so much.